What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Doing a live IG video right now. Recap analysis of the Joe Rogan Elon Musk podcast. Just happened last night. It's 12:15 p.m. Eastern as I record this. Stayed up till like 5 a.m. last night watching the podcast, analyzing, reading about it. So a little bit tired, so bear with me. I'm going to post this to YouTube later, so don't worry if you missed the whole thing. I'm going to give a couple seconds for people to join before I give a full breakdown of what happened on the podcast last night and then sort of my analysis, because a ton of Tesla news, SpaceX news, personal Elon philosophy, AI, Boring Company, Neuralink, it was all discussed, so just mind absolutely blown. As I'm making this episode, Tesla is actually down to about 6% to $265 per share, so no one's too happy about that. How's it going, Hyperchangers? Good to see you. Thanks for joining the live event. All right, so I'll recap it. So Elon Musk goes on Joe Rogan's podcast last night, starts live, and the thing is live stream on YouTube starting at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time, so that was mid 12:30 Eastern time. And basically Joe Rogan, for those who don't know, is a comedian. He's sort of like an entrepreneur. He does a lot more than just be a comedian. He's done Netflix specials. He also, has his JRE podcast that Elon was on, which is one of the most successful podcasts that he's been doing for years, sort of pioneered the podcast genre, and sort of his style of casual conversations is really well known for having, different, very unique guests on his podcast for hours and hours and really getting into deep, long form content with them. And just Joe Rogan's podcast is an unbelievable way to get a really interesting picture of who a person is, because I think Joe Rogan's an awesome interviewer, and like the podcast goes in so many different ways. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Elon Musk speak for more than 2 hours straight. The whole podcast was like 3 hours. I'll put a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. I mean, you have to watch the podcast if you haven't seen already. It's unbelievable. My mind was blown so many times. So it starts out, they're both drinking whiskey, seem like they're having a great time. Elon was actually pretty nervous and rattled to start out the interview. They started out talking about the Boring Company. I'm looking at notes on Reddit here if you see me looking up, but so they started talking about the Boring Company and how Elon, just started basically digging a tunnel, how he has a certain SpaceX guy working on it, and how they're just taking that one step at a time. Not too much crazy news there. And then sort of the conversation took an interesting turn, and they spent a ton of time talking in the beginning, probably first 30 minutes or hour of the conversation, about very intensely about the future of artificial intelligence, the rate it's progressing, what the future of humanity is going to look like when we have an artificial intelligence that's, vastly smarter than we are, and sort of how Elon Musk has been on a personal mission to try and alert and warn people about the dangers of artificial intelligence. He even says that he met with Obama to try and get him to take it seriously. Then there's this really, really ominous part in the interview where Elon Musk is basically saying, look, I tried to warn everybody about artificial intelligence and the risks it poses, because once it happens, once the cat's out of the bag, it's too late to regulate it, and nobody listened. And there's just this really ominous part of the podcast where he's just nobody listened. And basically he's stopped trying to convince people to care about AI and the dangers it could have, because he wasn't successful. And he's sort of come to the conclusion that basically, AI is going to be what it is. It's going to be more powerful than humans. That event is probably coming soon. They don't discuss a timeline on it, which is good. And that hopefully the AI is good and wants to keep us around, but who knows about that? It's really in the hands of the AI once it gets out, what it decides to do with humanity. And so this is a really scary thing. And frankly, just on a personal note, I'm not the kind of person who likes to talk or think about too much about this whole artificial intelligence is taking over the world. Imagine some sort of entity that's 1,000 times smarter than we are, that's getting smarter every day. It's just really, really crazy. And so I thought that was kind of a scary, deep part of the interview. But then he goes into more sort of hopeful by talking about Neuralink and what, the different paths that humanity can take. Are we gonna just let AI become vastly smarter than us? Or are we gonna start trying to become symbiotic with AI and integrate it into our own bodies? And then that's what actually Elon's trying to do with this company Neuralink. For those who don't know, Neuralink is a company that Elon Musk quietly founded a couple of years ago that's designed to literally make the thing that was in a Black Mirror episode, a chip that goes in your brain that basically is what your iPhone is, but instead of you having to tap at it and talk to it to interact with your iPhone, you just think into it, and it's a chip that's implanted in your head. You want to record this memory, or it's probably all going to be recording everything you do. But yeah, so Elon Musk sees this future where if humanity is going to survive with an ultra powerful AI, we're going to need to become symbiotic with AI, and the next evolution of that, or an evolution that's vastly superior than the smartphone, will be embedded chips, and that's what he's doing with Neuralink. And the biggest thing he had said is that Neuralink, which has been totally out of the public eye, he never talks about it, is apparently going to have a huge announcement in a couple of months. He said it was too early to talk about that, but it sounds like we're going to be getting the first official announcement of what Neuralink is working on soon. So for all the Elon Musk fans out there, that's just super exciting. Neuralink sounds like it's improving, and sounds like we're gonna get a big update on that soon. Also, if you have any questions, please type it in the thing. It's sideways, but like I'll try and read them. Also, so then they talk about here, let me go to the AI. Okay, so that's AI, Neuralink. They're having whiskey this whole time. I think they re-up on whiskey there. Then they do a little bit of discussion about social media and how, Elon Musk's thoughts on Instagram, which I thought were pretty interesting, about where he talks about how like Instagram is just people showing the happiest slice of their life and the best time in their life and their best moments. And so then when you scroll through your Instagram feed, you're only seeing the best moments in people's lives, and then you feel sort of depressed that your life isn't as good as theirs. That's an interesting take. And, Gary Vaynerchuk is someone I follow closely, and he's sort of a vlogger. He's actually an original, investor in Facebook and Snapchat and a lot of these social networks. And he believes that social media is good, and it's just sort of exposing the flaws that we've inherently had as humans. And so I've thought about that as for a while. Like everyone, hates on Instagram, like it's bad for society, or is it just, an evolution of what we've already been doing socially, but now it's documented so people scrutinize it more. But then I thought Elon Musk made a bunch of great points about how Instagram is really designed, and social media in general, to like highlight the best parts of your life and fabricate this, digital reality of who you are that may or may not be what your actual real life is like. And then they go into these, very deep conversation about AI and just this concept that when technology becomes good enough, the evolution of these social networks and even like gaming and esports will sort of come to this crescendo where like the games are indistinguishable from reality. Like Ready Player One, that new movie that came out where, you live your life in VR, and the VR world is basically just as real as reality. Elon Musk has this crazy theory that we actually may already be living in a simulation. Like they talk on the podcast about this concept of base reality, like which is the base reality, and then in that base reality you basically hit an escape velocity with scientific and technological progress where you can create another reality within that base reality that's just as real, and that could be just keep going in this infinite loop forever. So it sounds like some of this stuff makes your brain hurt, but it's just really fascinating stuff. And I think it was super important for Elon to go on a platform like this and discuss, why he's scared of AI and just sort of this big future that we're racing towards 1,000,000 miles an hour that nobody's taking their head up to think about, which is that we're becoming symbiotic with, our computing devices. And he makes this beautiful analogy that, a smartphone is basically we're already cyborgs with our smartphone, and the smartphone is this computer that our brain is interacting with constantly, that we're addicted to. But the problem with us interacting with our smartphone, and why it's not like what you think of as a cyborg, is there's a huge bandwidth issue. We have to type, we have to tap. It's not like I'm not just thinking something and then the computer's interacting with my thoughts directly. There's a big delay in me giving enough data to the computer or my phone, and then what it can give back. And so that's what this whole concept of Neuralink is about, is increasing the bandwidth at which your thoughts can interact with the AI, and then that sort of unlocks all this potential for what your brain can do. And so mind-boggling stuff. I mean, if anything, what's crazy to me is that Neuralink is gonna be is the iPhone killer. Like we always think about, what's the next product that Apple needs to come out with? Is it the smart glasses that have augmented reality? Is it this? Is it that? I mean, what really disrupts the smartphone is a chip in your brain that automatically posts whatever you want, automatically tweets whatever you want, is automatically recording whatever you want. That's the next evolution of the personal computing device. And so I thought that was fascinating. They talk a little bit about the Roadster performance package, moving into a little more fun stuff, how it's going to have, he describes like the pressurized sort of rocket SpaceX mode that the new Roadster is going to have, where it has like these pressurized gas, sounds like an electric version of Nox, or that thing that in Need for Speed where you like press a button, it goes and like the gas shoots out. And so the Roadster is going to have that. Sounds like an unreal product. Then they talk about flying, and then Elon makes a joke like, oh, the Roadster can even fly, and then that takes them into talking about what about flying cars, and is that a future versus tunnels? And then Elon once again gives that analogy of we live in cities that are 3D. I'm in an apartment right now on like the 4th floor, but the road is only 2D. And so this is a massive fundamental issue of congestion, and how are we going to solve this unless transport systems go 3D? And so that's the whole concept of the Boring Company, is we can go 3D as many layers as we want. Even Elon says we can even have 100 levels of tunnels going 10,000 feet below the Earth's surface, and that could go way higher than the tallest building. Joe Rogan really presses him on, what about flying cars? Are those practical? And then Elon basically says like, well, flying cars, like you don't want to have something flying way over your head that could break, that could fall. And then they talk about like this potential weird theoretical use case of magnets that I guess Joe Rogan read in a sci-fi book about how that could enable flying cars. Weird. And then they talk about electric planes. This is something that actually Hyperchange did a Moonshot Monday about, because in the Iron Man episode or video, Elon Musk makes a cameo and talks to Tony Stark at this really dope party, and he's like, Elon, what have you been working on? He's like, oh, I've got this idea for an electric vertical takeoff and landing jet. And Tony Stark's like, cool, like this is in Iron Man, go check out the Moonshot Monday, Tesla getting into the electric planes business that we did, and it literally starts with that, it opens with that clip. And so Elon Musk has been scheming on this vertical takeoff and landing jet idea. Joe Rogan asked him about it. Elon explains it in just unbelievable detail. I mean, if you're a physics nerd, this was probably like the holy grail. Most of it went over my head, but he basically explains how he has this revolutionary design for an electric VTOL jet. VTOL is vertical takeoff and landing. So basically, instead of going, it just goes like the thrusters kind of come down and shoots up like that. And so this vertical takeoff and landing jet, Elon starts describing why it could be so much cheaper to operate than the way we do planes now. And basically it comes down to the fact that once you get high enough altitude, the amount of energy that you're expending to go a certain distance starts dropping the higher you go at an accelerating rate, because the air friction is decreasing. And that's why, the whole sort of physics unlock of why the electric vertical takeoff and landing jet could work and be actually cheaper than passenger planes. But the biggest bottleneck is battery technology and getting the battery density, efficient enough to where you can make it so that the plane can fly and it's not too heavy of a battery. And so this is what gets me so excited about Tesla. Like, the battery technology, as they get cheaper, and I've been saying this, like every time the battery technology gets cheaper, it unlocks a new use case for what Tesla's technology could do. Now after 5 or 10 years of a company, Tesla's starting to produce electric trucks because their battery technology is improved enough to where they can make an electric truck compelling enough from an economic perspective to start really making a dent in that industry. And the same thing will happen. The electrification of planes is inevitable, but it's just way down the road because the battery cost trajectory needs to fall so much. It'll be one of the later things that disruption hits. But so it's super bullish on electric planes. I really hope Tesla is the company that launches that. They talk about a bunch of interesting stuff about how, autopilot, how Tesla's cars are so much safer than the status quo, but the press sort of, spins the narrative of every time there's a Tesla crash, it's a horrible incident, when in many times that passenger would have been much safer was much safer in the Tesla than they would have been in any other transport, type of system. And so then, this was a fascinating thing. The Tesla solar roof talks about the energy consumption and how, the energy habits are changing. And then Joe Rogan makes a quick comment about how, you shouldn't leave your TV on. And then Elon says, what is a huge energy consumer that people don't realize, their AC, because you leave it on all day. As a New Yorker, everybody does that in New York, just leaves their AC on and cools their apartment all day. Apparently that's super energy intensive. And then Joe Rogan's like, wait, well, why don't you guys just make a better AC? And then Elon almost looks like he hadn't had that idea on the spot and was like, maybe you're right, we should actually. So that's a crazy, and this is just a tangential thing of what gets me so excited about Tesla's business model. Once you have the stores, once you're selling this vision of complete sustainability, renewable energy, an electrified home, the amount of products you can sell on top of that is insane. You have the solar roof, you have your battery, you have your car. Well, now you want to get a more efficient air conditioner because that means you'll use less energy, and Tesla's already selling you all this stuff for your home and installing stuff in your home, and they already have all the stores where you're buying stuff for your home. They could just sell sell their Tesla AC in those stores, no incremental costs really. It's just all of that profit on that AC goes right to the bottom line because they just plug it into their sales pipeline. So that's just one example. I mean, I have so many other examples of like tiny little niche businesses that Tesla could do. I mean, whether it's putting like a micro windmill on your home to generate energy. I don't know if that would work or the birds would be mad, but like that's something I could see Tesla getting into. Or what if there's a way to like collect rainwater from your roof and put it into some tank so you can actually have your own water system that's all powered by Tesla that Tesla sells. I mean, they're already installing your solar roof. Couldn't they put some sort of system to collect water on that roof and then filter that water? And I don't know. So there's just so many things that Tesla can sell you once they have their store infrastructure, their brand, and this sort of ecosystem of energy products that I thought, thinking of like Tesla air conditioning unit, how that ties together is a really productive exercise to think about the future of this company and why it's so exciting for me, because Tesla's not a car company. They're not people box them into all these boxes of traditional companies. They're an energy company. They're doing energy production with solar panels, energy storage with batteries, energy consumption with cars, then trucks, then planes, then boats, then, you know what I mean? So just fascinating to get some insight on the vision there. What you guys have all been waiting for, the puff of the joint. So they've been sipping whiskey this whole time. Joe Rogan sort of makes some joke about some knickknack he bought in some country, and then they're how it's perfect for holding a joint or something, some sort of marijuana smoking thing. And so then he pulls out the joint, and then Joe Rogan lights it, takes a couple puffs, and is like, Elon, would you want to hit it? Kind of as a joke. He's like, it's legal, because they're in California where marijuana is recreational legal if you're 21. It's just like alcohol. For those who don't know, like Elon didn't do anything wrong. And then basically Elon's like, sure, like I'll hit it, take a puff. So Elon takes a puff of weed on live TV in the interview, which I was not expecting. He says Elon claims he like didn't smoke. He doesn't really smoke weed, which I believe because he doesn't seem like much of a stoner type. And he says he doesn't like weed because he likes to be productive, but he did take a hit of the joint. He later did say that the joint wasn't affecting him and he didn't feel it, but I think this is hilarious. I mean, I'm personally from like Seattle. I grew up on the West Coast. So I think if you're in the West Coast, California, marijuana is recreationally legal in Washington as well. Like, it's just not that big of a deal. A ton of people smoke marijuana. It's like almost as common as drinking a beer. So it's not like culturally, to me, it doesn't seem that weird, but it's just hilarious to see the internet and the stock market, blow up about like Tesla CEO taking a hit of weed. Oh, and I'm sure what you guys are all wondering, like, oh, but the stock is crashing. Is that because Elon smoked weed? The accounting officer just left. First of all, like, once again, the Tesla news cycle is totally getting twisted by the shorts and these people who are not really telling you what's happening. The Tesla accounting executive leaving has nothing to do with smoking weed or Elon smoking weed. Like, I'm pretty sure. The reason they hired this accounting executive, in my opinion, was to set up for a go private move. That accounting executive had previously worked at Seagate, a company that was multi-billion-dollar chip company that took itself private. So I believe he was specifically hired to take Tesla private. And when they decided they weren't going to go private and stay public, he had less of a role at the company. His expertise was less needed, and he wasn't a good culture fit anyway. He even says in the statement of the 8K that Tesla filed that like he loves Tesla, believes in the mission, and he has no problem with the company. It just wasn't a good fit for him. So like that news is totally taken out of context. That's probably hurting the stock. Like, it's not a great thing that he left, but it doesn't matter. And I think it's literally more to do with the public-private thing that he was specially hired for than like him not being a good fit. And then the other thing is a couple other chief of like communications or people left for Tesla. I don't know. I have no insight on that. But then the marijuana thing, and so that is leading to Tesla stock. As I'm currently recording this, it was 265 when I started, now it's at 262. I would wish I could be buying Tesla right now, but I can't because I have no money. So hopefully that will come through soon, because once again, like none of this matters. Like, the accounting guy left. Elon took a puff of a joint and drank whiskey on Joe Rogan's podcast, which first of all, I think was phenomenal marketing. I mean, Elon didn't pay a dime. Millions and millions of people are going to watch it. Millions and millions of people are going to read the headlines about the thing because of the weed smoking thing. And so it's like almost this weird no such thing as bad press kind of thing that I think Elon's playing into, that just gives Tesla so much press, more than any other car company, that I actually don't, like, I almost think it's a smart move for Elon to go on these podcasts but the market's thinking it's a bad thing. But my point being is the fundamentals of Tesla have never been better. Like, the Model 3 just reported sales in August of 17,800 cars. The Tesla in the US for the month of August outsold BMW, Audi, Mercedes. Like, it's happening, guys. Like, Tesla's doing it. And the other big thing that I wanted to get to with this podcast was like, two big takeaways about Elon, and like it was less about Tesla and like nitty gritty about what products they're going to launch. It's really about, the most important thing about a company, the most important asset a company has, it's not on its balance sheet, it's not on the income statement, it's not on the cash flows, it's its leadership. Who is leading the company? That is the biggest asset or liability a company has. So understanding who leads your company, what their mentality is, what are they thinking, why are they doing it, what are they motivated by, how smart are they? That is so important. That's research that almost nobody does. How many of your friends that buy stocks could talk to you for an hour or 10 hours about the CEO of that company and his life story and how he got there and why he's incentivized to make his shareholders money? Almost nobody could explain that. But yet that is the most fundamental thing you should know when you buy a stock. In my opinion, it's like, okay, who's the CEO? Why is he running this? Why is he incentivized to do right by me and make shareholders, Anyway, the point being here is Elon Musk is such a different animal than every other CEO or business person that I've analyzed that I think is in the public markets. First of all, he's way younger than most of the executives out there. He's like 47 years old. He's super like, he thinks that everything can be remade differently. I mean, just the way you hear him talk, like people get confused that he's a business guy or he's always tweeting or, he's into the drama and the gossip. Elon Musk is a super sort of like introverted, awkward, nerd, genius, like engineer type. Like he spends all his time doing engineering. Like when Joe Rogan asked him about an electric plane, you literally see Elon's eyes looking and him like creating this 3D model of an electric plane in his head, literally analyzing the airflow and the lift and like all these physics things that are happening with the plane in real time in his head. He's running all these calculations to figure out, like the guy is just such an unbelievable, like his engineering prowess is unbelievable and was totally on display in this. I know it sounds corny and lame and everyone says Elon's a visionary, he's so genius. Like I genuinely believe that Elon is one of the smartest people on the world and like just an incredibly gifted like person intellectually and a genius. And it's not like I'm a fanboy and I'm just thinking that. Like I'm an investor that wants to find the most disruptive, exciting companies because I believe we're at a time when there's more disruption and opportunity happening than ever. So I'm picking the smartest person to bet on that I can find in the entire planet. I've analyzed hundreds of companies, thousands of companies. Every single public company, I'm constantly trying to find someone smarter than Elon Musk. Like, I literally can't. Like, listen to this guy talk for 3 hours, your mind will be blown. Like, his level of cognition, of understanding of physics and engineering is one thing, but then the way he puts everything into such a historical context of like, we're apes that now, then we got thumbs and that enabled this innovation in humanity. Like, the way he puts together this engineering side of his brain, also the understanding of human history and ties those together is such an incredible, like, I just think that's where the magic happens with Elon is he's got these cross-disciplinary skills that enable him to be such an incredible person. And listening him talk about why as a society and culture and economy we need to be scared about artificial intelligence, and just from a philosophical perspective, also understanding how governments interact with that sort of thing and how regulation works and how it always lags and how we need to change the pattern of regulation, lagging and then overcorrecting. We need to be seeing what's coming ahead of time with AI and also being able to understand what AI is from a technical level. Like, these are just things that are incredibly rare in humans. And so that's why when, people think about, I don't know, I don't even want to bring up the haters or shorts or Tesla of Elon Musk, but I just don't get it. And my favorite thing, I'll wrap this up because it's been like a 20-minute rant, or I'll get to the Q&A and I'll answer as many questions you guys want. But the biggest thing is what I loved about this interview, screw everything, AI, Tesla, all the weed, the whiskey. At the end of the interview, Elon Musk says like, I don't even know what the question was, but it was like, what would you have like advice for people or last words? And he says, basically the gist was to just like, everybody should be nicer, like be positive, be nicer, be kinder. People aren't as bad as you think on the internet. Just because you read an article about something bad someone did doesn't mean they're as bad as you really think they are. Get the time to know people and just be nice and be kind. And how could you hate a guy that says that? Like, I just think that's exactly what the world needs. That's a mentality that's missing everywhere in society, is just be a little bit nicer, be kinder, think bigger, be innovative. Like, I don't know. So my, roller coaster ride of the interview, it started out, I honestly almost was rattled, punching my roommate. So I was freaking out because we were talking about AI and I was questioning my life and the meaning of are we going to die? Am I going to have to decide to upload my brain into a simulation or die? That maybe that's coming. I don't know. And then it's but now Tesla's happening. Maybe we have a chance with Neuralink to save ourselves. And then electric planes. Now we're taking a hit of the joint. Like, unbelievable interview. You have to watch it. It was so crazy. So anyway, that's what my recap. So let's get a couple questions. Can I get a question? He tried to warn us about AI. That is going to be in a movie. So after humanity gets taken over by AI and we all die and the apocalypse hits, when they make a movie about that, the way they're going to start it is the clip from the Joe Rogan podcast where Elon says, I tried to warn them, or like whatever. I think he says it like 2 times too. He's like, I tried to, and he's like looking away. He's like, I tried to warn them. I tried to warn them. And then, I don't know. So I think that could be like hilarious. Anyway, do I think he's telling the truth about Neuralink? Of course he's telling the truth about Neuralink. Like, Elon Musk has been talking about Neuralink. It's been super secretive on the back burner, but I've been following their website. They've had a shitload of they've had a ton of job postings on their website. Like, so Neuralink's been hiring. They've been working, but they just haven't announced anything yet. But we're getting close to that Neuralink announcement, so I'm stoked. Smart home thoughts. More Elon impressions? Got you. Next time. I'll try and think of one. I wish I had a joint so I could do like the Elon joint impression. How late did I stay up watching the podcast? Till like 3:30 a.m. And then I thought about going live, but I was so tired. And then like I ended up just like writing down some thoughts about like the podcast and like listening to Kanye West for another hour after that, just like decompressing. And then I had to get up and like I was watching my roommate's dog, and so Rusty, and so I had to get up at like super early to walk him and then give him food. So I'm like still super tired, didn't get to sleep, but it was totally worth it. You should all watch. Honestly, if you're tuning into Hyperchange Live and you didn't watch the whole Joe Rogan thing live, I'm a little bit disappointed in you. VTOL jet, you're right about it being 10 years away. He hasn't made it clear whether that would be in a new company or in Tesla. It would need to use Tesla's battery technology. And I made a Moonshot Monday literally pitching Elon Musk when he does launch his VTOL jet to do it within Tesla. I made this video a year ago, so check it out. Moonshot Monday, electric VTOL jet from Tesla. Any more questions? I'm going to check my notes, see if anyone have anything to say. I'm about to upload this to YouTube, so you guys can check it out there. Predictions for Tesla stock in January. My prediction for Tesla stock is anybody predicting anything about Tesla stock is an idiot. Nobody can predict what stock prices do in the near term, tomorrow, today, next year. The market's irrational. It moves up or down. I thought Tesla was going to be skyrocketing by now because they're producing so many Model 3s, but then Elon Musk smokes weed on a podcast, so now it's down. You know, I don't know. Who the hell knows what's going to happen yesterday? But my point is with Tesla, like, you know, companies are valued on their earnings power or their ability to produce cash flow if they desire to produce cash flow. And if the trajectory of that ability to produce cash flow is increasing, or you believe that they can produce more and more cash flow as time goes on, aka their earnings power is increasing, then the intrinsic value of that asset is increasing. So I believe as Tesla makes more cars, the intrinsic value of Tesla is increasing because the earnings power of the company is increasing, even though you're not seeing real earnings because they're reinvesting everything into growth. So, I believe the intrinsic value of Tesla when they're building 5,000 to 10,000 Model 3s per week at this stage of, risky, at pricing in some risk is around $400 per share, 70 billion, which is about a 2.5 times price sales multiple from the $35 billion, $35 billion revenue run rate I think we're going to be at in Q4. So my intrinsic value meter has said that I believe Tesla stock will be worth around $400 by the end of this year. And I've never changed. I said that on Cheddar at the beginning of the year. I still think that's true today. That's why I've been buying Tesla under 400 when it drops way below, even more below 400. I'm like, it's just getting a better and better deal, more and more on sale, the same asset, lower price. And so to answer your question, a little bit of rant, do I know what Tesla stock's gonna do? No idea. I never know what it's gonna do, but in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. In the long term, it's a weighing machine. So in the short term, it'll vote on the BS headlines, and that's what'll move the stock. In the long term, the weight of the intrinsic earnings power of that asset will lead you to what the long-term trajectory is, and I think the long term that will go up. When, who knows? Profit in Q3, I think Tesla's, like in Q3, Tesla's gonna be like, barely break even, threading the needle, walking the line. Like, maybe they'll make a profit, maybe they won't. I don't care. That's not what matters. Like, I think people are putting way too much emphasis on, like, are they gonna make a profit? Are they not? I'm just looking for, improvement. If they can get close to break even next quarter, that would be huge quarter over quarter improvement. And I think that shows the trajectory of Tesla becoming profitable. So that's what I'm looking for. Smart home products. A couple of you have commented this. This is what Tesla is going to get into, the smart home, your smart AC, timing with the Tesla app, when I turn my AC off, when I'll set everything that'll reduce my energy consumption. And then, so yeah, the Tesla AC thing, that's a whole Moonshot Monday. I got to make a whole episode about that. I'll be working on that. Should Tesla take on Alexa? Yes, and they will. This is, once again, another Hyperchange Moonshot Monday I put out. That Tesla is going to launch an AI in their cars. Everything is set up to be enabled by voice and software. Eventually, they'll have some sort of Alexa-like thing. I think they should call it Jarvis, an ode to Iron Man. So you get in your car like, Jarvis, take me to the best Italian spot. Jarvis, I need a good burrito. Well, Tesla can capture revenue on the voice Tesla app store for every transaction that you do that on. Additionally, you could be like, once Elon Musk launches Neuralink and we don't have phones anymore, we just have the Neuralink in our brain, then I think that will probably disrupt the smartphone. And so that will disrupt Alexa. And so if there's one moonshot that I had, it would be that Tesla should probably buy Neuralink, because I believe this, the car being a smartphone on wheels with the screen, with being a way that we interact with the digital world, with our digital self, the car is an important product in that regard. And the expertise that Tesla will build and the connection, the personal relationship that you'll have with your Tesla and how you interact with the digital world, I think will be a perfect brand stepping stone to leverage into a consumer electronic product like a Tesla phone, like a Tesla Neuralink chip. So that's like a really crazy moonshot, but that's just something I've been thinking. Have I considered buying long-term call options out of the money Tesla? I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but yes, I have considered doing that, especially with the stock down. I actually am trying to get in touch with my Vanguard account to get me recertified for options so I can specifically do that. So why don't I trade the stock? Because I don't like trading the stock. Is Elon beta testing Neuralink? I think so. He's so smart. I don't know. Anyway, all right, this is Hyperchange. This was probably the most fun I've ever had doing a live video. I'm totally going to do another one. So thank you all so much for tuning in. You are all awesome. Thank you for asking the questions. I don't know. I'm so happy about the podcast. I don't care that Tesla stock's down. I don't care that Elon Musk smoked weed. I think there was so much great information that was spread about the future of humanity and technology and excitement about the future and just inspiring ways to it's all good stuff. And so I'm more of a Tesla fan, Elon believer than ever. And yeah, that is what it is. Anyway, Noah, what's up? I don't know, so I want to say hi. Daniel, Dan, Evodsworth, Daryl, doing some shout outs. Thank you for watching. Florist the First, air conditioning comment. I'm going to make a Moonshot Monday about that. Sean, you bought some new Tesla stock today. Good luck with that, buddy. All right, this is Hyperchange. I'll see you next time. Peace. How do I end the live video? Uh-oh.